just do query nmap without the RPM again, and it says, there you go, it lists it there as installed. It is up and running on your system. Suppose we wanted to delete a package. To completely remove it from our system, we would simply use RPM space dash E nmap, and there you go. Press enter, it is now removed. To confirm that it is removed, you can just query it again, and you can see that the package is indeed not installed. So it's a very nice feature we have there. So query, erase, and install. You can just run a confirmation check. This is a bit of a good example of grep. So let's type in help space pipe grep. And we're now going to use quotation marks because we're going to want to use one of the special characters. So the dash, and what shall we query for? Let's do the erase. Excellent, there we go. So we've used an escape character as before and used dash and then E under the quotation marks as well. Anyway, it says E dash E erase, and then a package erases or uninstalls the package. There are some other variants, but dash E will in fact erase the package that you have selected. Anyway, if you wanted to know where I have downloaded it, look, I have just went to the nmap.org website and I have found the, let's just do a bit of a zoom in. I have found the RPM package here for 64-bit Linux distribution. Now, as a system administrator, you most likely will at some point of time use Nmap. I can assure you of that, as it is a high-quality tool for scanning and probing your network and figuring out where is what is functional, what is not, what ports are open, and so on. But that's not the point here. That's not the objective of this particular tutorial. Here, I just want to show you that you can actually go onto the net and download a package. Now, a word of caution or a word of warning, take it as you wish. Be very careful in terms of your sources. Be very careful where are you downloading the RPM packages from. Make sure that the sources are in good standing in terms of reputation on the net. And download from verified sources such as nmap.org, or you can even go to Adobe Flash Player. Here, let me just show you. We can type in Adobe Flash RPM. So if I go to the Adobe website, I know that they're legit. I know that they are not going to have, I don't know, any viruses or anything of a kind in their software. But you see, we also have these sort of websites, and I don't know, I'm not familiar with this one. I think I've downloaded something for my virtual machines from this one, but I definitely wouldn't download something for my main machine. So I'm just looking for the website here. Where is it? So on this one they actually explain how to pull it from the repositories. But let's just say Adobe Flash, and let's go to their website immediately. Should have done that straight away. So Adobe Flash Player download. Anyway, this is just another example of me downloading something from a website somewhere. It says select a version to download, and you can definitely select the .rpm for other Linux. It says here for other Linux, but you can just, okay, there is even a Yum package, but for this particular tutorial, we are downloading the RPM for other Linux. And you can download it and install it in pretty much the same way that we have installed Nmap. Very simple with RPM command and with arguments -I for install, -Q for query, and -E for erase. Feel free to add V into all of that in order to get the verbose output and the most information out of it. Anyway, this was a bit of a short tutorial on how to use RPM. We generally won't be using it that much, but it's also one of the ways to install a software on Linux. The third way would be to actually compile it from the source. However, that is not frequently done. That frequently done as, for example, you would use Yum or RPM. Anyway, I bid you all farewell here, and I sincerely hope to see you in the follow-up tutorial. Welcome back, everybody. Today I am going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the Red Hat Certified System Administrator exam and the second portion of the course. Now, thus far, we have done some of the very basic things. We have covered how to open up your prompt shell. We've talked a little bit about the GUI, and I've basically slowly been guiding you in. Now we're going to switch to something that is not completely different, but I would say that is a bit more difficult, and it contains a larger amount of commands which are more complex and are used on daily basis by system administrators. Now, I have opened up the Red Hat website, and here you have basically the outline of the, well, I wouldn't say of the course, but you have definitely the subjects which will be covered in this particular course. I would strongly recommend that you go ahead and take a look at this if you want. It's not mandatory, but you can just take a look and see what we shall be covering. So I don't think I'm going to go through all of it, but let's go through these major titles. I mean, I will go through all of it during the course, but for the time being, I don't want to explain each one of these individually, as it is far better to actually go through them where you have written examples and where you can actually see me doing something. Anyway, we have understand and use essential tools. Now, some of these things we have done, but most we still haven't, and we have only done basic forms of stuff that we already did. But later on, as we progress into the Red Hat part of the course, you will see how this changes drastically. We will be using a shell prompt more intensively and with far more complex commands, but don't be intimidated by this. I do believe that there are some 2,000 possible commands in Red Hat. However, you don't need to memorize all of them or anything like that. You have the man pages, you have the help. You can even type info space and then a command that you want to learn more about. Those are the info pages as well, or you can go online. So there are alternatives, there are options for you to learn. You don't need to actually know everything by heart. There's literally no need for that. Anyway, as I said, so access the shell prompt and issue commands with correct syntax. That's basically using the help menu and the man pages, and I've already showed you examples of how these commands are typed in. How do you summon how do you actually bring up a shell? Of course, on a production server, on, I don't know, some storage, some massive storage or something of a kind, like big data, you're not going to have a GUI there, for real. You're not going to have a graphical user interface at all. Why? Because it's a waste of resources and you will need to do this. Everything that we do from this point onwards will involve pretty much the shell. I will be using the shell in the GUI, but you can use the shell out of the GUI. That's when you actually change the boot state of Red Hat so that it boots without GUI, which is very nice in terms of resources, but you only get a shell prompt there. Of that, we shall speak more later on. For the time being, I just wanted to introduce a concept. Anyway, one of the most important things is user input output redirection. On that we shall dwell, that I will explain in great detail. It's not that complicated, it's quite simple. Down below you have grep. I have already showed you some examples of it, but later on we will do more complex things with it. And you have regular expressions, which is a rather vast subject. Basically statements in bash or in terminal, should I say, which help you perform certain tasks. A lot of it is based around text filtering, as everything is a file in Linux, so you need to be able to handle that. Most configuration files are just text files which you actually take, edit, and do whatever you want with them. You can change them however you wish, should you have the right permission. But let's, in this portion of the course, I just want to introduce you and tell you what we're going to be doing from this point onwards. I know that there are some far more complex commands that we shall use. Don't be intimidated by them. It's all fine. I will guide you one step at a time, and you will need this in order to pass this exam. Also, one crucial thing, uh, I don't want to say how good or bad this course is. It would be I would be a partial, I would give a very partial review, and it's not up to me to decide that. It's up to you as as students to actually basically just come take a look at the course and say, okay, this is good or this is bad.